The character of Othello in William Shakespeare's Othello, the Moor of Venice, has been the subject of much scholarly inquiry, especially regarding the historical and cultural inspirations for his portrayal. Othello is often regarded as one of Shakespeare's most complex and tragic characters, whose racial identity and personal background play significant roles in the development of the play's themes. Scholars have traced the historical inspirations for Othello's character, many of which connect to real-life figures and cultural contexts in Shakespeare's time. Historical inspirations for Othello's character, the Moors of North Africa. The term Moor in the play refers to a Muslim of North African origin, often associated with the Berbers, Arabs, and other peoples from the region around the Mediterranean. In the 16th and early 17th centuries, when Shakespeare was writing, the term Moor was used to describe people from parts of Africa and the Near East, particularly those who were dark-skinned and Muslim. Othello is presented as a Moor, a racial and religious outsider in Venetian society, which adds to the complexity of his character. His ethnic identity is central to the play's themes of jealousy, race, and societal exclusion. Historical figures. Othello's character is thought to have been inspired by several historical figures, both from Europe and North Africa, who were Moors or of African descent. Two of the most prominent inspirations are John Blank, a notable black trumpeter in the service of Henry VIII of England. John Blank is sometimes cited as a model for Othello. His presence in the royal court could have exposed Shakespeare to the idea of a Moor in a position of respect and responsibility. While Blank's influence on the specific character of Othello is debated, his existence as a historical figure shows that black individuals were sometimes in positions of prominence in early modern Europe, albeit rare. The Moorish general in the Venetian army. The character of Othello is believed to be based in part on the life of a real Moorish general who served in the Venetian army. His story was widely circulated in the Renaissance, and many scholars believe that Shakespeare could have drawn inspiration from these accounts. The most likely candidate for this inspiration is Albuquerque, a military leader who was part of the Portuguese Empire's expansion into the East during the 16th century. Though Shakespeare's Othello is set in Venice, the figure of the Moorish general represents a broader tradition of military figures of African or Muslim origin in European history. The legend of the Moorish king. The historical figure of Abu al-Hasan Ali, a Moorish king who was taken into captivity and brought to Europe, may also have influenced the portrayal of Othello. His story, one of a powerful African leader who ends up in servitude, mirrors the central arc of Othello's life in Shakespeare's play, where the protagonist rises from a soldier of fortune to a powerful general, only to ultimately fall victim to jealousy and betrayal. The influence of the 16th century European view of the Moors. The play reflects the complex and often contradictory attitudes toward Moors in Shakespeare's time. The Moors were often seen as exotic, mysterious, and noble, but also as figures who could be dangerous, both physically and socially. This duality is evident in Othello's character. He is portrayed as both a noble, honorable man, and a tragic figure prone to jealousy and violence. Shakespeare draws on contemporary European anxieties and fascination with the Moors, who had a long history of being both feared and admired. The role of race and racism. A central component of Othello's character is the racial prejudice he faces from other characters, particularly Iago. Othello's otherness as a Moor is key to the dramatic tension of the play. His race is often invoked as a reason for his perceived inferiority, and Iago exploits these racist attitudes to manipulate Othello. This reflects broader cultural fears and stereotypes about race in Elizabethan and Jacobean England. While the historical Moors in Europe were often celebrated for their military skills, intellectual achievements, and cultural contributions, especially in Spain and Italy, they were also subjected to deep prejudice, as seen in the treatment of Othello in the play. Venetian society and the military. Venice, where the play is set, was a major European power at the time, and it had a significant military presence in regions like North Africa and the eastern Mediterranean. The military was a central part of Venetian society, and Moors like Othello could rise to positions of power as mercenaries or soldiers. However, despite Othello's military success and leadership, he is constantly reminded of his racial and social status, which is never fully accepted by Venetian society. This tension is a driving force in the play and speaks to the difficulties faced by racial and religious outsiders in early modern Europe. Shakespeare's sources. Shakespeare's primary source for Othello was likely a novella titled Un Capitano Moro by the Italian writer Cinthio, Giovanni Battista Giraldi. Cinthio's story tells of a Moorish general in the Venetian army who is tricked by his ensign, Iago, into believing his wife, Desdemona, is unfaithful. This tale was itself influenced by the historical and cultural context of the time, drawing on long-standing European narratives of Moors as exotic and dangerous figures. Shakespeare adapted this narrative, adding depth and complexity to Othello's character and his tragic downfall. Please share, like, and subscribe. Oran Z.